What's going on? This is GC3 on the Vision Sports Network, and I'm in the place to be. Lovely, rainy Phoenix, Arizona. It's been quite a weekend, this Easter weekend. We've been having a lot of rain all weekend long, and it's kind of confusing to me because normally I've been living here since 2007, and normally Easter weekend starts to get warm. But anyway, we're bringing another special episode. I got my guy Dev from MTMO Sports Podcast. He's visiting us here from Baltimore, Maryland. So let me bring him on right now. Dev, what's going on, my guy?
What's happening, Mr. GC3, man? How you feeling?
You know what? I can't complain. I mean, it's a little nippy for me this time of the year, but hey, I got, my socks on and rocking it in my house so I don't get too cold because I'm tropical blooded. It's people who don't know. I mean, they've been watching my podcast and stuff, so they should know already. I'm from Hawaii, so born and raised, and just trying to make it up here in the mainland.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, man. Because it's a little bit rainy, a little bit chilly here in Baltimore itself too, man. So normally around this time it start warming up here. We get that little humid weather here in Maryland, so I know it's coming. So I ain't gonna rush it.
Man, it's been kind of an interesting, chain of events. I mean, we got the ending of March Madness. The Final Four. I'll be busy this week. We have the final. We're hosting the men's here in the Phoenix area, so
Okay.
that usually draws in a lot of coaches and just basketball industry people. So I'm pretty blessed that I got the invite for some of these big time parties. So I'll be out and about socializing and just kind of rubbing elbows with people in the industry. So it'd just be a great marketing and then networking opportunity, for what I do here. But what are your thoughts, man? This is like one of the toughest times of the year because we got basketball flowing right into baseball. Because I know, last year I know the Orioles had a great season, right?
Yeah, we was hot all the way till we met the Rangers. Man, and one good thing was I just came from an O's game this past Saturday, and we had lit the Angels up, man. We lit the Angels, what was it, like 13-4, and the bats got hot for us in the bottom of the sixth ending. Shout out to what's my guy named Gunner Henderson, man. He is a real stout baseball player, man. The O's had really did their homework on bringing him and drafting him onto this team, and we got something good in the future with this guy, man. So it was a real dope atmosphere at the Camden Yards, man. The fans was rocking, the stadium was moving, and for us Orioles fans, man, we haven't felt like this in the last couple of years, man. Started from last year, and now that this Orioles teams really look legit, it seems like we got something good at Camden Yards.
Yeah, I remember when I was really following baseball in like the '90s and early 2000s. Man, I remember Cal Ripken Jr., one of my favorite players.
All right,
I
man.
remember he was a heck of a player. I mean, that what I remember was he had that never missed a game, that streak. I think it still stands
Mm-hmm.
today, which is very impressive. I mean, it's changed sports. I mean, even look at like the NBA. These guys will get on the injury report and try to rest, and
Load
it's not like back
management.
in the day.
Get out of here. That's a shout out to Kawhi Leonard for all that load management. He the president of that load management squad.
So it's been different. So Dev, you got a podcast. I want to share, your podcast, for my viewers and followers to give you a follow. You have the MTMO Sports Podcast, and I loved it because you just shed your opinion on just a variety of different sports topics, and it's just it's refreshing, and I love it.
I appreciate you, man. Like I said, I came up with this idea just a little over 2 years ago. Actually, it's my wife's idea. She got tired of me and my friends going back and forth on the phone. talking about this and talking about that, and she was like, "Man, y'all just remind me of Stephen A. And Skip Bayless." That's when the time they when they were still kind of together. So she was like, "Why don't you just start a podcast?" And I was like, "Man, nobody gonna listen to me. Like, who wants to just listen to regular old Joe?" And she was like, "Well, the way how podcasts is starting to grow around this COVID time, I think you could start one. I think you should grow one." So I was like, "Man, what should I call it?" She was like, "What's the first thing that comes to mind?" I said, it's my thoughts and my opinion." And she was like, "Boom, that's your title. That's your name of your podcast right there." And I was like, "Damn, all right." Then she was like, "Well, build a logo." I had reached out to a couple of people who wanted me to who into graphic designs and designed me a logo right there on the spot. And I was like, "Oh, that's the one I want. I'm rolling with it." Started off in audio for the first year and a half. Everybody kept telling me, "You should push to YouTube. YouTube is calling you. You should do it." I was like, nah, I'll see about it, because I'm just wanting to do audio at first. Start doing my homework on YouTube and visual podcasts. And once I got on YouTube, I can tell you, like, things started really going up for me in my podcast world. Started everybody wants to be a guest or wanted me to be a guest. Different networks reaching out to me. So it's been a nice journey ever since I started this just a little over 2.5 years ago.
No, that's awesome. I mean, mine, I was trying to do, something small, just going on. I was testing the water with like Instagram Live and Twitter Spaces. Now, I mean, Twitter or X now it's called.
Right.
And it was just hard because there was one time I needed to like bring on multiple guests, and it was kind of like hard because there was limitations.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to, you know what, I'm gonna just take the next plunge. I mean, to me, sink or swim, it's all good.
Right.
The best. In order to win, you got to fail, and you just can't waltz in and win. So I just, got on and I started doing some research, and boom, I ended up coming across StreamYard, this platform that we're on, and I liked
Mm-hmm.
how it just kind of ties into to you can share it on YouTube and multiple platforms on one site. And I mean, like the way my studio looks, I mean, people think it's like super professional, but I mean, I do merchandise and apparel, so I had my manufacturer. He just made me a backdrop, and I just pinned it to my wall. And I'm running this on a
Hey,
Chromebook, like, and just a
hey,
USB mic and a USB camera, but it works.
hey, man. Hey, I got some more information to give you offline to really set you up. You know what I mean? To get you, more advanced. Anytime you need some information, you know what I mean, hit me up. I'm always down to help out, reach out, as best as I possibly can.
No, I appreciate that. So let's dig into the topic, the juicy topic which I wanted to talk to today. And I know it's starting to affect different sports. I mean, I first saw it affect the men's basketball world, and then just football. It just opened the floodgates, and then now it's starting to impact the women's basketball world. So it's the
Mm-hmm.
transfer portal.
Ooh.
It's like I don't know. I mean, to me, it reminds me of like this club basketball thing when parents and players are not happy with the situation, so they just jump ship and jump into
Mm-hmm.
the portal and hope that they get scooped up by somebody out of that pool.
Yeah. And honestly, me preferably, I'm not a fan of the transfer portal. At first it was cool, it was decent where um not saying if you don't get your way, but if things is not working out professionally for you, and that program maybe is not a winning program, is holding you back, stuff like that, or you're working so hard and it's not panning out for you for that team, then maybe the transfer portal can be used and stuff like that. But the way these kids are using it now is, it's number one, it's NCAA fault, in my opinion. NCAA should have been giving these kids a little bit more freedom years ago. And I think that now when you try to throw so much at them at one time, kids is going to react to a different way other than mature adults will react to. And like I said, NCAA is its own fault for that, because these kids should have been paid. And if these kids would have been had these NIL deals, or be able to accumulate some type of revenue for themselves, because when they go out and put on for these universities, man, these universities get top dollars. When they put these kids on these front of the tickets or front of the billboards or anything in that nature, these kids should have been got paid off of that, because you're using their face, they're using them for advertisement. So that's where I think that NCAA should have been started paying these kids, and then maybe these kids would be able to stick around a little bit more longer. But now, since you throw the NIL deal and you throw the transfer portal at these kids at the same time, now you can't get mad that when these young adults trying to make adults decisions on their future. And you had stated also in the background, the parents also. You know what I mean? These parents are not allowing these kids to finish what they started, and then they are all in front of the tension and trying to live through their kids' dreams, which is probably their dreams too. But they also trying to live through their kids and trying to make their decision like if it's their decision. And so it's just a lot of back and forth confusion with this transfer portal. And I think that's where the NCAA is all messed up at.
No, and I agree. It's creating a toxic culture and environment. And, now it just so and off, offline we were talking about it. So example, the Tagovailoa kid, which is Tua's, Tagovailoa, which is Tua's younger brother. He
Mm-hmm.
was at Alabama. I mean, and he wasn't getting a lot of playing time. I mean, again, Alabama recruits well. They're loaded at every position. So of course he entered the portal and ended up in Maryland. But if you think about it, I mean, yeah, everyone's just seeing that part of it. Like, okay, yeah, now he gets a chance to start and get some minutes. But what about how is that going to affect the other kids coming up who are seniors? And let's say Maryland was showing that interest in that kid at the quarterback position, but all of a sudden, oh, well, Tagovailoa, he was an Alabama reserve. He does have film, and we're going to take him because he's a proven college, that he can produce at the college level. So then
Mm-hmm.
what happens to those kids that, man, now it's like, okay, now maybe I'm going to go to an FCS school, a lower tier school, or a Division two or NAIA. And it just kind of backs it up. I mean, at least with football, you can put more athletes on the field. Same with baseball and softball. But
Mm-hmm.
then now you tie it into basketball, you only can put five athletes on the floor at once. So then it just turns into a whole effect. So like right now, what I'm seeing, it was just announced by my guy, Gems in the Gym, Camille Williams out of Oakland. Cam, launched this list of kids, notable players in the portal. There's over 30 schools with their leading scores from Division One that on the women's side alone, where their leading scores are in the portal. So what does that do for our seniors of 2024 and the future classes coming up? Colleges are tempted to, hey, we might be able to get a mid-major, kid, who's already proven to be a leading scorer at their university or even a low major plus. Now I can possibly get that kid and have a year or two of eligibility, for them or whatever, that they're going to be an impact player right on, right off the bat versus, okay, a high school kid, what can they do at this level, to keep
Mm-hmm.
up with the athleticism, the size, the strength, the pace of the game. So that's what I think parents and prospects are failing to really see. And when somebody like an analyst or a scout like myself say, "Hey, you're under the radar," and they're holding out in their recruitment, and I'm like, if you haven't heard from the D2s or D1s at this point, what do you stop holding out? Like go where you're liked and wanted and loved, not chasing. Oh, I'm a D2 or Division One kid. Well, now you have the portal, which is affecting it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to talk about this issue because it's besides that, on the recruiting standpoint, I mean, you brought it up offline. Kentucky, the men's side, Calipari is a heck of a recruiter. He gets a ton, like on paper, his team has NBA talent, 1 through 8, 1 through 9, but they
Right.
can't put it together because basketball is a game of chemistry,
Mm-hmm.
you can't just be individuals. You got to have 5 guys on the floor working as one. If not, you're going to get beat.
Yes, most definitely. And that's and what's another thing that we didn't bring up too, that like the NBA is getting rid of the NBA Ignites team because of this transfer portal and the NIL deals, because now that that NBA Ignite team can't really compete with the money that these players are really getting, because a lot of these players are getting big time money. Let's talk about the women's real quick. Caitlin Clark, her
Ooh.
NRL deal is 3.1 mil. That is way larger than what WNBA teams can really offer her at this stage. Now, don't get me wrong. I thought and the WNBA is getting ready to generate a lot of money. They is about to come up on some good sponsorships and a good deals that's coming up. But as of right now, a WNBA star is not getting paid that type of money. Nowhere near getting paid that type of
Oh
money.
no.
Just like Angel Reese, a Baltimorean. I everywhere I go, I gotta talk about my girl Angel Reese. But
No, I
Angel
love
Reese
Angel Reese. I mean, she
is
signed that deal with
also
Reebok. That was smart. Shaq and AI was smart with that. Love
yeah.
Angel
Now
Reese.
her NRL deal is worth almost 2 million. And if she goes to the WNBA, even she is a top 10 prospect getting into this WNBA draft, she still wouldn't be getting that type of money. So, and then she's tittling back and forth is, should she stay one more year because the NRL deal is worth more than what the WNBA can pay for? So the NRL deal is like a gift and a curse a little bit, because some of these stars are willing to stay in college, but if some of these stars is not getting these type of money and these type of deals, then the transfer portal gets ugly. Gets, like you were saying, how 30 of the top recruits or the top scorers are in this now transfer portal now is all because of they ain't getting the NIL deals, or they're not liking the situation that they're in.
And it's just crazy. There's a lot of, I mean, besides that, I mean, I've even dealt with kids that their families receive bad advice, and they go in the
Mm-hmm.
portal with no minute, like no stats, and I'm like, you're in the portal. You went from a Division One, now you're in the portal with no stats or good film. I go, you're a JUCO bounce back now if you have any
Yeah.
eligibility, and they look at me like, well, that's a curse. I'm like, no, that could be a good opportunity, but you're the one that jumped in the portal. I would have stayed. You're looking for
Mm-hmm.
something better, and I get it, but you gotta have the stats. You gotta have that film to get into that portal to land somewhere really good. Unless you have a great, maybe there's a great relationship that people don't, maybe I don't know about, that
Right.
you have, but you got to be careful, man, because now you're putting your future at risk. There's, I know I was on a scout call with some of the other scouts, and we talked about this a few months ago, and the numbers were scary about how some kids are going in the portal and they're not finding a new home, and they end up not not playing the following
Yeah.
year. It's a
That's why
risk, too.
that's
It's
why
a
I say
gamble.
it's a gift and a curse of this transfer portal, because um look what Coach Prime is talking about. How Coach Prime, he was advocating for this transfer portal. He was saying that a lot of his guys is coming through the transfer portal and stuff like that. It, I got like a 50-50 on that, because I feel like, wouldn't that be tampering in your eyes a little bit if you already can claim guys that that's going to go in the transfer portal before they even actually get in the transfer portal? Or isn't that like, how come other schools are not saying, hey, hit the transfer portal, come to Colorado or come to Alabama and stuff like that? So I just feel like I'm still 50-50 on this transfer portal. Especially if head coaches are like Coach Prime is advocating for you to come through the transfer portal, especially for him to get top recruits like that. Because look how he got his son in Travis Hunter.
It's true. It's I'm hoping the NCAA really looks at it and it kind of they got to put more restriction on it because it's starting to get. I feel for some of these coaches. I mean, especially at the smaller programs, it's like, well, I did all my homework. I built a relationship with this kid. I recruited this kid, and we made this kid either our gal or our guy, depending on if they're the men's or the women's side. Then they have a breakout season, and then boom, they're in the portal because it's like now, oh, I think I can go to a bigger school. But at the same time, I also get it too because with all this NIL money that's there, that's being dangled around. So now, in my opinion, you're going to see a lot more. You're not going to see as many Cinderella stories in the NCAA tournament because now it's like the bigger schools have those resources. Like I had a player, a Chol Magat. She was looking at, she was being recruited by Texas Tech, McNeese State, San Jose State, BYU and Idaho State. But come on, man, Texas Tech, that's Big 12. I mean, they
That's
have
a
the
Big 12 right
resources.
there.
And her deciding factor, she visited those schools and really loved the other schools, but Texas Tech, it was no comparison. I mean, it was the base NIL deal you receive if you come play for us is 25,000. None of the
Right.
other schools could touch it.
Right.
None of the other schools could touch any of that, and that's not including whatever else she's able to attain. And I mean, be mindful. I mean, I'm sure college sports. Lubbock is crazy about that. That town is so crazy about Texas Tech sports. So I
Mm-hmm.
guarantee now it's the boosters, whoever, it could be a small mom and pop car dealership or whatever. Hey, here you go. Here's a car. Here's a Ford Mustang or whatever. Here's a Camaro. NIL
Right.
deal. Sign an NIL deal with us and shoot some. It could even be mom and pop restaurants, and that's what people are also. For me, I'm actually entering the market as, NIL representation for high school student athletes because
Yeah.
Arizona just legalized it. But
Okay.
what I'm trying to tell them, like, don't try to attack looking for the big, like, oh, I want to get 10 grand from no. I said, if you get like 5 sponsors anywhere from, 500 to $1,000, that's a good chunk of money for a high school kid coming
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Build off those relationships, and those relationships could increase. You know what I mean? What you're trying to, what you're getting paid now. So, quick question though. What would you rather live with? NOL or transfer portal?
whoo, man, Dev. Whew. I want to say NIL. I mean, no matter what, it's that's such a hard question. I mean, to me, I want to see sports get back to sports where you could see kids and athletes stay, relatively for a good chunk of time at one school instead of seeing them bounce from school to school. I mean, to me, it's kind of a trickle effect of even the sports world. Like, when I was growing up in the '90s and the '80s watching sports, these players stayed. They were loyal to these teams. They stayed. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, now it's like, oh, let's go. I want to go with my friend and take less money, but let's form a super team. And it's like it's not really fun. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, there's an argument back and forth. I know people will say, well, Jordan stayed at Chicago because he had all those pieces around him. It's I don't know. I mean, same with like, well, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson and the Pistons. Everybody, Isaiah
You know
Thomas.
what I say is when people say stuff like that, what other market um would have paid Jordan during that era? What other team could have actually paid Jordan for him to leave Chicago? Because New York was already invested in Pat Ewing and the rest of that crew. Detroit was still coming off of Joe Dumas and Isaiah Thomas and what they was trying to figure out after those big contracts was up. Then you had the Indiana Pacers, who was knee deep into Reggie Miller, and you see they didn't really have another star other than Mark Jackson really to play over in Indiana. So when you look back into those 90s team, how can you be mad of Jordan where there's not another team during that time? Because the revenue wasn't as big as the revenue is now. So what other team could have really paid Jordan what he was worth and could have you be like, hey Jordan, if you come over here, we guarantee to give you money and give you championships. Because if you would have paid Jordan, if you the Indiana Pacers, you say, hey, we're gonna go ahead and say we done with Reggie. We feel like MJ, we're gonna put more money into MJ than the Reggie. You can't bring a Mark Jackson or Antonio Davis or Rick Smits to Indiana Pacers now because you paying all your money to Jordan. So
I agree.
That's where the argument kind of gets funny to me when people would be like, well, Jordan could have went. No other big market team really could have been able to pay Jordan and give him pieces around him to win a championship. Chicago was the best choice, and he did the best decision.
Absolutely, man. Those guys were loaded, man. John Paxson, Luke Longley, and
Tony Kukoc, Pittman, Steve Kerr, Horace Grant, Oakley from time to time. The team they was always able to bring in pieces that Jordan needed.
Absolutely. But hey, Dev, that's pretty much all the time we have today. I appreciate you coming on. So, ladies and gentlemen, my viewers, make sure to give my man a follow. His Instagram is right below his name, is his tag handle at MTMO _ sports podcast. And he also has a YouTube channel. So, that's the biggest thing I'm trying to do with my fellow YouTubers out there in the YouTube world. Just support. It's free to hit the subscribe button. And
Yes,
the best thing is his content, especially if you're interested in sports. He has a lot of great stuff covering, NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, just everything sports. I mean, it's Dev's take on it. So give him a follow and support him. Hit that subscribe button.
Yes, sir, man. I guarantee y'all, man, I'm always giving you dope content every time I step on this mic, or even if you step behind my phone, whether it's a short, a reel, whatever the case may be. I'm giving you real dope content, man. Please. I'm on the road to 1,000 subscribers. You feel me? Right now, I think I'm at like 103, 104. So hit that subscribe button. I guarantee you're going to have the best time following MTMO Sports Podcast.
I appreciate it. And for everybody out there, thank you for tuning in. This is episode number 31. You guys have a blessed day. Peace.